Welcome to Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast, there was no AEW Dynamite this week, so we are delving into the WWE main roster, King of the Ring, Queen's Crown, the upcoming Crown Jewel. We also have NXT to talk about. Did Tony Khan actually leak the Full Gear full card while he was on the sidelines at the Jacksonville Jaguars game? Did he do it on purpose? Was it a shoot or a work? We also have the G1 nights 11 through 16. That's so much Japanese wrestling that I've watched in the last 3 days. That and a whole bunch more tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast.
This is Banned from Ringside.
Tonight on the Banned from Ringside podcast.
Your boy, man. Your boy.
Ditch that 9 to 5. It's time to feel alive. Hello, Marks, and welcome to the Banned from Ringside podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bill Vagey, a.k.a. Buff T. Bagwell. What am I doing?
I'm dead.
What are you doing to me, Vice? And sitting to my left, we have Jason Cornelius Bell. What's going on, JCB?
Oh, shit, Vice, you struck again. Allow us to bow our heads as I read from the latest edition of the Banned from Ringside podcast, volume 227, chapter 3, verse 14. And the good smart saying, hashtag boo the heels. It is all good, baby. Listen, share, subscribe, repeat the holy trinity of BFR. No AEW last night, so I was kind of like, damn, this feels weird AF. I really didn't know what to do on a Wednesday night because usually every night, at least for me, is regimented to some sort of promotion. Wednesday night is AEW night, and it was the weirdest Wednesday that I've had in a very long time.
I didn't like it. And out there on the left coast,
yeah, far west in the house,
we have Jason, or we have Two Beer Zach Bowman. What's going on, Two Beer Zach?
Not much. Just sitting here vigorously rubbing my big, smooth magic lamp, hoping for a genie to pop out and give me more time to watch wrestling, guys, because I am behind.
Man, I had a beer in my mouth. I took a big-ass gulp before you, and that's usually, like, the worst thing I could possibly do before you start. And you started talking, man. I'm like, oh, God. I'm, like, looking around like, where am I going to spit this out at?
He's a pro, man. He's a pro. I don't know if he thinks of this shit on
I start talking that and start thinking about where to fit. I don't know where to go. But no, same thing. I started to watch AEW. I not even realized it was preempted, and it wasn't there, so I just didn't watch any wrestling because I just wasn't thinking. I was like, oh shit, I got the night off here. I played Spider-Man on PS5. So.
You should have heard how crestfallen you sounded before the pod when we started, and Jason and I were like, oh yeah, we've watched through night 16 on G1, and you were like, wait, what? You're like,
I missed night
16. You guys watched the one from last night? It's like, oh yeah, Jason,
keep up, motherfucker.
Jason's off during the day. I'm on leave.
Right, I was getting ready to say, I got 5 hours. I count them. I know I can get 2 hours and 30 minutes of G1 in easily.
But we are coming at you from the delightfully overcast. It rained all day, but it's pretty nice outside right now. Sitting on my back patio in St. Charles, Missouri, the 63301.
Pray for me, everybody.
Well, just until you get back to the city. You know?
That's all I ask. Just get me back to the city.
We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Well, not really. It was kind of a slow week in wrestling, but I'm sure we'll find a way to fill 2.5 hours or something.
The bad part about this week is it's a quote-unquote slow week because when we record, we don't get the chance to record after Dynamite and Rampage, and tomorrow night it's going to be a fairly huge night on both sides of the fence with a supersized SmackDown, and then AEW with Dynamite, Rampage to buy in their kind of programming. So, I mean, next week's is going to be, unfortunately for the man to my right, because he'll be gone next week. Yeah, it would be a very interesting week next week for sure.
Yeah, programming note, it might go up a little late next week, and also I won't be there. If If that means that you don't want to tune in, I completely understand.
Wow, why are you looking at me when you say that? I mean, he made direct eye contact.
Just kidding. Without further ado, let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
JCB, kick us off.
I'm sure the legions of billionaires, if you will be
Ooh, I like that.
will be up in arms with your absence next week. Have a safe flight. I'm assuming you're flying. Mm-hmm. Right on. We're going to switch it up this week. Usually we do G1 or what's the most important thing, but as I was thinking about this the other day, Crown Jewel, as much as I don't want to give it the credit of being a really good card on paper, this is a really good fucking card on paper. I mean, this is borderline WrestleMania type quality matches. There was obviously some build on Raw on Monday night with finally Drew and Big E not necessarily being able to get along in their tag match, and then finally Drew lays Big E out, so you have that obvious tension with that match. Once again, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, I think, did an amazing, more so Paul Heyman than anybody else, did an amazing promo on Friday night where Heyman almost looked like he was starting to dig himself into a hole, saying that if we were going to, dupe Roman Reigns, why would we do it this way? And the more and more he was talking, more and more I'm watching it. I'm like, if I didn't know any better, you're kind of telling Roman Reigns this is what you're going to do. But Roman Reigns finally accepts Paul Heyman as being the loyal, I guess, what's his nickname? Wise man, the loyal wise man that Paul Heyman is. He pledges his loyalty to Roman Reigns. I thought that was an incredible promo. I'm actually looking forward to a Roman Reigns-Brock Lesnar match. From there, I think my biggest, the 2 biggest disappointments, would be the 2 tournaments, King of the Ring and Queen's Crown, respectively. Queen's Crown, I think, has just been an absolute joke. No match, I think, has been over 3 minutes. It basically boils down, at least in my opinion, who is willing to go to Saudi Arabia and not pose a fuss. Obviously, Sami Zayn won his first round King of the Ring match. Was a total surprise to me. I thought he would be one of the first ones out, but I'm pretty sure we can eliminate Sami Zayn as a guy going to Saudi Arabia in a week or so. I just don't really have too much of an interest on either one of these tournaments. So the simple fact is you could be doing way more, especially on the women's side.
The Final 4 on the Queen's Crown side is, I don't know why they just didn't call it Queen of the Ring. Queen's Crown is hard to say. The Final 4 is Shayna Baszler versus Doudrop and Zelina Vega versus Carmella. Zach, who do you think is going to be facing each other at Crown Jewel?
What are the options again? I was just assuming Carmella was going to win the whole thing.
Well, Shayna Baszler, she's fighting. Wait, how? Yeah, she's fighting Zelina Vega on SmackDown, and then on Monday it's going to be Doudrop versus Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it was Shayna and Carmella would win.
I think the exact same thing. What do you think, Jason?
If Carmella beats Shayna Baszler, then I'm pretty much done with the WWE Women's Division.
But
altogether.
couldn't you have Nia Jax come out and cause Shayna Baszler the match or something?
No, in kayfabe style, Nia Jax is busted up with a broken elbow. Same thing with the heat magnet Eva Marie.
Well, let's think about it this way. Whose gimmick does it help more to start walking around with a crown on? It's not Shayna Baszler.
No disagreement.
It's Carmella.
No disagreement.
Or Zelina Vega, really, honestly.
More so Carmella, I think, but Zelina could be an easy 1A.
And then on the men's side, on King of the Ring, it is Jinder Mahal versus help me.
Xavier Woods.
Oh yeah, Xavier Woods versus Finn Balor or Sami Zayn. Like we said, doesn't look like Sami Zayn's going.
He ain't going.
Because of his politics. And so really, it's going to be Finn Balor versus either
Yo boy.
Xavier Woods or Jinder Mahal. Looks like
Who you got?
Well, I think Jinder Mahal is going to win because I think that
Going Xavier Woods.
well, who's going to walk around with the crown? Again, it's like when's the last time when's the last time WWE put the King of the Ring on a babyface? It's been a long goddamn time.
It's been a hot minute.
What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I think the same thing, and it's something they could do to kind of heat Jinder back up. They seem like they might be keen to do something with him, and I think it's just an unnecessary gimmick for somebody like Finn Balor. So it just kind of makes sense.
He's already the Demon King, right?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
It's not really an acclaimed title or an acclaimed.
Bret Hart is the
status.
last baby face that I can think of.
Yeah, remember when King of the Ring used to mean something? It used to be cool.
It was a big deal. It was kind of like the IC title. It was meant to be that next stepping stone before Money in the Bank. You had King of the Ring, and the guys that won King of the Ring were usually the ones that were earmarked to be taking that next jump. Now it's just a gimmick to have something that you can
for like
add
3
to.
years. Sheamus had it for forever, and then Baron Corbin walked around as King Corbin forever.
Yeah,
I don't even remember when Baron Corbin won it. That's not. I know you said it's like a WrestleMania show, but Crown Jewel.
Oh, look at the card, man.
I understand.
The card looks good. I'm actually mad about it.
I'm mad they're forcing me to do this.
Well, the cards always look good. The thing about Crown Jewel is that we've never known. We did predictions for it one time, and then we realized that after that time that it's basically like a glorified house show that they might change a title at. But that first Crown Jewel was the only one that I've watched from front to back just because it's not really a thing. It is like a glorified house show that completely disrupts WWE's already shitty rhythm of storytelling. So we got Goldberg versus Lashley in a no-holds-barred match. Goldberg's son is going to get in there. Of course, Goldberg's going to win. I'm not looking forward to that match. Looking forward
by murder.
Right, I know. How is that not a death match? They keep talking about killing each other, man.
Oh, shit.
We have Big E versus Drew, which sounds like a very exciting match. That's a fresh matchup and a match that I want to see. I wish it was taking place at something that I want to watch. What do you think, Zach?
I think it's just a battle about who's the most handsome or who can slap the most meat.
Yeah, I know. Big Meaty Boys slapping meat or something. Did you hear that WWE won't let him make that a T-shirt?
Yeah, that's what he wanted.
He wanted his T-shirt to say "Big Meaty Boys" or "Big Meaty Men slapping meat" or whatever, and WWE's like, "Nah." It's like
I can see that being nixed very quickly. I love the T-shirt idea personally, but I'm not running.
Let's make it. Fuck it. Has anybody trademarked it?
No, it's sorry, Big E, but you're gonna have to come to us. I like Big E and Drew. I like the fact that Seth and Edge are going to have a Hell in a Cell at Crown Jewel, the Bill Vegas special for the women's the SmackDown Championship. There's a lot of good matches on this card, like I said, on paper. Now, Crown Jewel has had the reputation of throwing out some clunkers in the past. Those clunkers usually have involved Bill Goldberg, so that's the one I'm worried. Right. That's the one I'm really worried about the most. Outside of that, I expect these guys to roll the ball out and give us a good show.
I mean, it's probably who do you think is easier to jackhammer if you're Bill Goldberg, Lashley or Taker? I mean, it's got to be Lashley, right? Just because Lashley's more younger and a little bit more athletic himself, right? I mean, Taker's probably like fucking dead weight, or at least when he tried to do it, right?
Yeah, it was not. God damn. Man.
They can't all be Jeff Cobb.
That motherfucker. I could close my eyes and still see how that bad the train wreck that was. They should have never had that match. Lashley should be the one that
actually. That's the Crown Jewel match that I've watched the most.
Yeah, because it's such a train wreck.
I know, man.
That and the tag team match with HBK and Triple H versus Kane and Taker. One or 1A. They're both they're bad in just two different ways, and in both great ways. If you like making fun of just wrestling in general. Like I said, I think, you put Lashley and Goldberg aside, the rest of this card, even with RK Bro, AJ, and Almost for the Raw Tag Team titles, I'm still into that.
God, I mean, I'm not. Those motherfuckers have been fighting forever. They
Yeah,
have been
but
feuding forever.
No, this should be the good blow-off to keep it
wouldn't
moving
feel
along.
like forever if they didn't fight some combination of those four guys every single Raw, every single week.
I agree.
Zach, is there any chance that Drew McIntyre takes this belt from Big E Langston?
I don't think so. I mean, you got to say there's always a chance, especially in this kind of a situation. Especially if you want to have a match where Big E loses but doesn't lose the title, or maybe you want a bigger Survivor Series match. Maybe you want Drew and Roman, even though I don't necessarily think that's a bigger match. I think Big E and Roman is the better match and better story-wise and everything, but I could see somebody like Vince thinking that that's a better match. So I don't think so, though. I think that Big E has this thing for a little while. Maybe not through WrestleMania, but I don't see him hot-shotting. Although, who knows? Like, we'll just have to see what the SmackDown rating is against Rampage here.
Jesus Christ.
Hot shot that some bitch. Might give Roman 2 belts.
Oh, stop, dude. I mean, goddamn. Look, I like Roman like the next motherfucker. At least I'll say this. I like this gimmick, the head of the table gimmick. I like this more than any other. But there is no reason in the world for him to have 2 titles, number one. Number two, I think Big E is pretty much golden until WrestleMania. Survivor Series should be against...
Whoa, you think he's good until WrestleMania?
Survivor Series against Roman, no title on the line. That scoots you through November. December, apparently, they're not going to have a TLC pay-per-view, but they'll have the January 1 pay-per-view, whatever that is. Fine. Royal Rumble is the only other major hiccup that I can see Big E having.
Elimination Chamber?
I don't see them doing it.
We all know that there is zero injustice happening against black men in St. Louis, Missouri. So.
I was say, they lucky that motherfuckers on a Saturday night because they start clowning up in here. They'd have to call my lawyer, man.
I mean, last time Royal Rumble was here, they bent over backwards to give it to the whitest guy possible. Sheamus. Motherfucker's almost see-through.
No shit. No, I think
he looks like Korean noodles.
That's fucked up. I think Big E is good until man, you fucked up. You ain't shit. Big E is good until WrestleMania. I think he's really even through Elimination Chamber.
Do you want to put some money down on that? A little friendly bet?
Yeah.
A little friendly? Okay.
Yeah.
So $1,000?
You want me to put 1,000 on Big E to get to the WrestleMania?
Don't let the people know how broke we are.
Okay, well, fine. $1,000 says Big E gets to WrestleMania.
You guys heard it here first. I think that there is a chance that Drew takes it off of Big E because they like Drew as champion, and Drew has been a babyface for a long enough time. It might be better to have Drew as a heel champion and Big E in chase mode. Maybe Big E gets it back from him at Royal Rumble.
Do you realize that Drew's on the way to SmackDown?
Shit, no, I forgot about that.
Okay.
God damn it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, too. So,
Just wanted to throw that out there. See, and that's my whole problem with this draft happening now. If you had the draft after Crown Jewel, then everything you'd have just said, I wouldn't have had a problem with, because then the reasonable doubt is there that Drew could beat.
You're right. That's
Big
dumb.
E.
Yeah.
And now you've taken a lot of that suspense away.
Yes. Certainly seems so. Well, then that fucking sucks. Let's, before we get the last 2 matches, are you a fan of the brand split in general?
Absolutely not. It's completely unnecessary, especially now. It just, I guess, like, now that they're going back on the road, it's a little bit different, but they're not doing house shows as regularly, so just really doesn't matter. I can see one angle where like Roman would dominate both shows, right? If that was the case, it would just, that's why they do that. But otherwise, dude, like it just completely hampers everything. And you get the same, like it seems like their roster is huge, and you get the same matches. You just talked about it. You see some variation of the same match every month until the pay-per-view, and then if they continue the feud, you'll see the same variation for the next 4 weeks until the next pay-per-view when they blow it off. I know it's garbage.
I'm gonna disagree, just in the simple fact that if we didn't do the brand split, we would have one world champion, and obviously that one world champion would be Roman Reigns. But then just on, coming down from there, you would have one mid-card champion, one tag team champion, so on and so forth. There's still enough talent out there in WWE, even though they do a very poor job of pushing anything besides the top-tier talent, where I think you still have to have a brand split. I agree with everything what Tubir said about going on the road and house shows, things like that. That's the reason why, that's the advantage of having this brand split. You can do multiple things. Right now, I still don't think there is a reason to merge into one roster just yet. If another round of cuts come around, then let's talk. Right now, I still think there's plenty of talent out there if they utilize it right to justify a brand split.
So I'll land somewhere in between you guys. I think the brand split's a good thing, just because if you think that Raw's redundant and SmackDown's redundant, Raw and SmackDown would look like the exact same fucking thing if there wasn't a brand split, just because they don't have enough imagination to be able to, they just don't put enough thought into booking and able to do it for them to be able to do it. Now, that being said, it would be possible for them to do it if they gave a fuck enough. And also, saying that there'd be only one mid-card, well, that's not true. I mean, back during the Attitude Era, which I know everybody romanticizes the Attitude Era, and if you go back and watch those Raws, some of them rule, some of them pretty shitty. But
God, yeah. I mean, there's some god-awful shit.
Yeah, some really bad stuff. But there was a U.S. title, and there was a European title, and there was an Intercontinental title. Like, they had all that stuff on.
I guess.
Go ahead.
I guess I was very vehement thinking about a hard and fast brand split. I'm totally fine with a brand split, but like, don't do a once a year draft. Like, make it a little bit more malleable, where you never really know who's going to show up on a show to challenge. Like, have one of the top stars like come over to the other brand and mess some shit up. Like, it gives it some kind of a feeling of the unknown. Otherwise, like, you tune into WWE programming, what show you're going to see. Like, you could write the show before you see it, because it's basically last week's show.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, that's no joke. I wish that they would do, like, this King of the Ring would have seemed like a good time to me to have it be its own show, maybe its own pay-per-view, where you, of course they're not going to do this, but you let guys like Chad Gable in there and let Chad Gable have a 14-minute match. When's the last time Chad Gable had a over 10-minute match?
If they still had the WWE Network, this would be, your idea would have been perfect. You have an hour a week, 4 matches. Everybody gets 10 to 14 minutes, give or take. Move along.
Okay. Seth versus Edge in Hell in a Cell. I can't remember the last time we had a Hell in a Cell match that wasn't on the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Was it Owens Shane at WrestleMania? That wasn't WrestleMania, was it?
No.
That must have been a Hell in a Cell.
I can't. I'm about to say.
I feel like it was WrestleMania, but maybe not.
Oh no, it was. It was at WrestleMania. It was at WrestleMania.
Shane Owens in a cell?
Yeah.
When Shane jumped off and Sami saved Kevin Owens?
Yeah.
That was not WrestleMania, no.
No?
No, definitely not. Shane fought The Undertaker Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. That was the first WrestleMania I watched, like, when I got back into wrestling.
But we do have Edge versus Seth, which, this is a feud that probably, in the old way they used to use Hell in the Cell, it was the blow off to a feud, and it happened only after it got really personal. And, Seth Rollins, the architect, breaking into Edge's house.
Man, you put your feet on my couch, player. Shit, it's personal.
Fuck your couch. But getting in there, we're not going to talk about Dave Chappelle this week. But even though I have a lot of thoughts.
Oh, shit.
But, I mean, this makes sense. I just wish it wasn't happening at Crown Jewel. I do want to see this. I think Seth goes over.
I would like to see Seth go over. I think Edge winning does nothing for him. Seth winning does everything for Seth. It's another notch. It's another accomplishment on his career accomplishment list. He finally ousted Edge.
What's Edge doing there if he's not putting Seth Rollins over? Come on, the guy's a legend.
That's what we think. But like you said, this is Crown Jewel, and we've seen shit go left before. I wouldn't be surprised to see that one go to Edge for sure.
Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, it's impossible to say because A, it's Vince, B, it's Crown Jewel. But if you're booking, for the future, like Seth Rollins is no spring chicken. I mean, the dude carries himself like a star. He's carried the brand before. He hasn't necessarily been in a good position to do that since his feud with the Fiend, and I think he's not doing the stupid Messiah gimmick anymore. I'm more like into this character than I have been with any Seth Rollins character in a while. So I think now is the time to heat him up. He's moving to Raw. Monday Night Rollins. Make it happen.
Yeah, him and Big E need to have some sort of program for the title. There you go.
That's a fresh matchup too. This is just what's so cool about Big E being in there, and why I hope he carries it till WrestleMania.
Oh, he will,
because there are these fresh programs that we haven't seen before, and
sure.
Big E hasn't been a singles wrestler for very long. And
I almost forgot about him and the Dolph Ziggler connection until Dolph came out on Monday night. I was like, oh yeah, you were the bodyguard. Damn.
Oh well, I don't know if I've ever told this story on the podcast, but Aaron and I were on our honeymoon. And I hadn't turned on the TV in 5 days. And, we had been on the beach all day, and she was asleep. And I just turned it on, and it was on SmackDown. And it was...
what's this?
Dolph Ziggler was standing in the middle of the ring with this massive black dude standing behind him. And AJ Lee was just skipping in the circles around him. And I was like, what the fuck happened when I was going? Who the fuck is this guy? So I do it.
And also you're like, I'm on my honeymoon. I've had plenty of sex. I don't need to beat off right now.
Yeah, right? I was getting ready to say, we could go ahead and turn this off.
That was also like 5 minutes later. I was like, oh, that's fucking crazy. And then I flipped ahead to the next channel, and I found out about Newtown, Connecticut. And I was like, what? I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm gone 5 days.
I left America fucking 5 days ago.
All hell was breaking loose.
It was fucking weird. I'll never forget it. But, yeah, so, okay. And then we have Brock Lesnar. Unless you want to talk about RK Bro versus AJ and Omos, which...
Not more than Brock and Roman, no.
Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. Let me ask you this, Jason, because I don't know if Zach was watching in the old days when Brock's first run. Is Roman Reigns Brock's primary rival in pro wrestling? If you look back over his career, is there somebody else that he had more high-profile matches against?
John Cena is the one that...
They never fought at WrestleMania.
That kind of jumps... Yeah, but still, when
Brock Lesnar... This is Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns 5, I think.
You're saying his first run. I'm thinking... My image of Brock versus John Cena is when Brock won the Undisputed title and he had both titles over his head, and that's my image of Brock Lesnar. And
that was not
Cena.
at WrestleMania.
Right. Cena is the one that jumps out, but I wouldn't have a problem with anybody saying that Roman and Brock are primary adversaries. Vince has always put them together in some form or fashion. This run mirrors Brock's run when he went over 400 days. My gut says Cena, but I wouldn't have a problem with anybody saying Roman.
What do you think, Two Beer?
I think so. I mean, when you look at just the premier rivalries and feuds, like top feuds of like the modern era, like that's the one that immediately jumps out to me, especially. And what's crazy to me is that right now, I really want to see this match. And I think the biggest difference between wanting to see the other matches and this one is now we have a babyface Brock. Even though Roman gets great babyface reactions, but he plays the heel. Now we have babyface Brock and heel Roman. It changes the entire dynamic where before they were just always trying to get Roman over as the top guy by putting him up against like the unstoppable force of Brock Lesnar and having him kick out of 20 F5s and all that. But, you know, this match is going to be fantastic. But, I mean, I actually just Googled it to see. And kind of going from most recent back, we had Crown Jewel, coming up. And then before that, we had SummerSlam 2018, where Brock was the Universal Champion. Then we had the Greatest Royal Rumble match 2018, which is the one, the steel cage match where
that was Crown Jewel also, right?
Beer.
They did it
yeah.
They did it in Saudi, but it was the Greatest Royal Rumble. It was when Daniel Bryan basically ran the table and then lost to Braun Strowman.
But that match was in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, sir.
And that was when he speared Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar hit the ground first, so Brock Lesnar won.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then we had Universal Championship match again, WrestleMania 34 that same year. So they wrestled 3 times in 2018.
And then we had the one at WrestleMania 31.
Yes, and that was the first one. It was World Heavyweight Championship 2015, where Seth
the cash in of cash ins
thing. Yeah,
the best cash in of all
but
time.
there was also a triple threat there that next year, Fastlane. I think we had just started doing the pod.
Hold on, let me guess the other one. It was Brock, Roman, Seth.
Nope, Dean Ambrose.
I was going to say Dean Ambrose. Okay, yeah, that feels right.
And then there was a fatal 4-way with Brock, Roman, Braun Strowman, and Samoa Joe at SummerSlam.
I vaguely remember that. That was when.
I remember it. I remember it overperforming. I remember
Samoa Joe really had
some
some fire promos coming into that bad boy, and that's when we were really like, okay, if they wanted to pull the trigger on a Samoa Joe title change, this would be a good golden opportunity to do that shit, and they never did it. And obviously, Samoa Joe has never really sniffed the main roster heavyweight title from that point on.
I think my point stands, though, is that they fought at 2 WrestleManias, they fought at 1 SummerSlam, and now 2 Crown Jewels. Jesus fucking Christ, these Crown Jewels really throw.
Which are big shows, even though they suck and they're stupid, and
Vince packs the card. Yes,
he packs the card, and when he's thinking of what he's like, I'm getting paid $50 million. I'm going to put on the best show that I possibly can. I mean,
this show is way more. I mean, just like I said, on paper, I'm looking forward to this show way more than I have than any other. The 2 Crown Jewels, the Greatest Royal Rumble. I didn't give a fuck about this. This one, when you said Roman and Brock was going to be the main event, I just had to throw my hands up in the air because now I'm like, fuck. It's on a Thursday. Nigga ain't got shit to do. You forcing me to watch this shit.
Is there any chance that Brock goes over?
Oh yeah.
I think so. I think there's a decent chance.
This is almost a coin flip chance. I really think so because Paul Heyman is the ultimate wild card, and we just don't know where. We saw where Paul Heyman stood. That's not necessarily.
So if that were to happen, are you saying that Paul Heyman is going to flip face?
Where this shit has happened, man. This is WWE. They turned Becky heel within 38 seconds.
So if I had a cleaver over your hand and I was going to cut your hand off at the wrist and you had to guess, what would you say?
Roman Reigns.
Zach, what would you say?
Reigns.
I think he's golden until WrestleMania again.
Till the Great One comes back?
Supposedly the Great One's the rumor is the Great One is not coming back for 38. They have him scheduled for Roman Rock 39.
Because it's going to be in L.A.?
I think so, yeah.
Dallas is fucking big too, man. Like Dallas is like that's you can't fit more people into LA than you can into Dallas.
Say, it's 100,000 people. Everybody and the mama is going to be watching on Peacock. This really felt like this was the time to do it.
They're starting to feel the heat from AEW. Now that's a great way to segue into our 2 count.
1, 2, 3.
That boy is good.
Good and terrible. Zach, what is the 2 count?
2 count. We did have AEW Dynamite. We did have AEW Rampage last week, which was an okay show. Started out with Punk and Garcia, and this seems to be the role that CM Punk is taking on himself to wrestle young guys and make them look good. Not that Daniel Garcia needs help looking good. The guy's a very competent wrestler. But yeah, like, that just seems to be what CM Punk is doing, especially as we look forward to the leaked, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but the leaked Full Gear card. So, but yeah, I mean, we had that. We had a good tag match, Lucha Brothers and the Acclaimed, the nice little fun Max Caster rep that referenced Arn Anderson, got me a nice little pop. And we had a women's match, Jade Cargill versus Sky Blue, just squash. And then the headliner was Ricky Starks, Brian Cage for the FTW title. You know, nothing too crazy, like a fun show. But you know, really kind of gloves are off. So I referenced Rampage, and you guys can talk about that if you have anything to say about it. I mean, like I said, not a super exciting show. We don't have to like dive deep into it. But the reason I reference that is because after that, Tony Khan sent out a tweet because SmackDown is going to FS1 next week. So this is like really where things get interesting because of you know, playoff baseball or whatever. SmackDown's going to be on FS1, so it's an even playing ground. Is that what it is? I don't know.
No, it's playoff lacrosse. Don't worry about it. No, it's playoff baseball. I'm fucking with you.
That makes sense. The Cardinals are out, so I don't know. But, so yeah, like, we have FS1 versus TNT, which is a more level playing field. And Tony Khan essentially said, I can't wait to beat you, your A show in your own time slot or, you know, on the same night. It's been a long time coming. And, I mean, gloves are off. So now Vince, like, sees the tweet, extends SmackDown to 2.5-hour show so that half an hour of SmackDown goes up against Rampage head-to-head.
No commercials.
He pays for it to have no commercials, and they're going to replay SmackDown as soon as it ends. So it's essentially a 5-hour block of SmackDown so that the entire show has competition. Now, I don't think that AEW is going to beat SmackDown. I'm not as confident as Tony Khan, I should say. I do think that this is mega interesting and has a ton of possibilities and outcomes. And one great thing that we got out of this was Tony Khan did not change the card that he had previously announced. But he did add in a buy-in show with Lee Moriarty and Bobby Fish and Bryan Danielson and Suzuki, which is an oh my god dream match that will be happening on YouTube before the show. Now, a lot of people will say, why did they not just put that on Rampage, right? Like, you want to have competition. That's like one of the biggest matches that you could possibly make, especially for their audience. But I think that Tony Khan, and I don't know him, but I think just by watching what he does, I think that he wants to beat them or at least just compete with them on a show that he had already planned. Like, this is the show that we're doing. We're not reacting to WWE. We don't have WWE on Gorilla while we're filming our show. So why would we react and change things up? But they did add in this buy-in, which I appreciate because I can't wait to watch the show. But a lot to unpack there, so I'll let you guys give your 2 cents.
Go ahead.
Well, I hadn't thought about it the way that Two Beard just put it, in that Tony Khan was like, you know what? I'm proud of the show that I already booked. I will add this on as a little fuck you, but I already booked the show, so I'm good with it. I think both these guys fucking love this. I think that there's no way that Vince doesn't like this. I don't even think there's a bone in Vince's body that feels irked by this at all. I think this has energized Vince. Hopefully it has. I really don't think that this bothers him. But how do you get into the head of one of the VIPs from Squid Game? I don't know.
Actually, Vince might have gone from 206 bones to 207 as soon as he saw that tweet.
Have you guys watched Squid Game?
I saw the very first episode the other day, and I was like, "What in the fuck?"
Have you watched this?
No, I've been playing too much Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, those that have watched it will get that joke.
I got the platinum trophy. It was awesome. It was super fun. Anyway, I'm looking forward to watching this.
I don't think this. I think this is probably what billionaires. This is probably one way to excite them, besides killing, civilians, or having civilians kill each other in a match to the death or whatever. This is great for wrestling. This is the best thing that could have happened. This is when AEW started. This was this was out of the realm of our possibility of what we could imagine actually happened. Is Vince actually reacting to AEW? Like, we did the Wednesday Night Wars segment on this podcast for a year, if not more, and now we're talking about actual wars. Not actual, not Raw's war, but I mean we're talking about.
I get what you're saying.
It's got Vince's attention now. Before it was Triple H and NXT versus AEW Dynamite. Now it's actually Tony Khan. It's got to be good for business, but Tony Khan getting out there and saying "fuck you" to Vince, and I can't wait to beat your ass. This is what we wanted, guys, and Vince reacting to it. This is. Can you imagine if Twitter would have existed when Eric Bischoff was in the middle of the WCW ring on his fucking Harley and shit like that? You remember that?
Jesus Christ.
This is what we were talking about, and we're not even at that level yet because the numbers aren't close, but it's enough to make Vince uncomfortable. It's enough to make WWE uncomfortable. Vince and WWE are synonymous in the way that we talk about them in general, in culture, in wrestling culture. I love this. In terms of AEW Dynamite or AEW Rampage, I will say this. It's so weird to see a match like Punk and Garcia lead off one of their shows because, and I mean this as a compliment, it was like a regular wrestling match. There was really no gimmicks. It wasn't, dudes were selling.
2.0 got involved, but I mean, I just expect
No,
that.
but I mean, it wasn't super high flying spot fest. Nobody's not selling. It was just. It seemed like a really old school wrestling match, and those are kind of the matches that CM Punk feels comfortable in. Now he's able to have matches with anybody because he's such a fucking pro, but it did seem like a change up and kind of a welcome one that you don't always see on AEW television. That's not a knock. I like it all. There's a place for all of it. It's kind of like it's kind of like a late night show. Like there should be a variety of things to see.
Smorgasbord, if you will.
But I enjoyed that match quite a bit. And also, I'll double down on this or triple down on this. I can't believe how much I like Brian Cage as a babyface. Like I find the dynamic between Team Taz and Brian Cage to be very enjoyable and intriguing, and I like Ricky Starks' whole thing. Hook is fine. Brian Cage lost via a low blow.
Yes.
So I was cool with it. Good, not great show.
Wow. Just on the Vince part, this whole thing reminds me of Braveheart. The King didn't have to get involved until William Wallace started really showing his ass. And now the King is involved. And he's taken over NXT for the most part and obviously has fingers in Raw and SmackDown. I'm not calling this hot-shotting when Vince puts in the extra half hour with no commercials. I'm not calling it hot shotting. To me, it's all counter programming. It started off real simple. Here's Tony Khan's Rampage for Friday night. Vince decides, okay, you know what? I'm done fucking with you. I'm going to add an extra half hour.
Yeah, but Rampage starts after SmackDown's done.
I know.
Vince is picking the fight, really.
Okay, that's how the whole thing kind of starts.
Yeah.
And I don't care what term you want to use to it, but Vince fired the first shot. You know what? I'm putting an extra half hour on, no commercial breaks. That's probably going to be the Roman Brock half hour. Okay? Now, in a great move of chess, Tony Khan's like, okay, I got something for you. I'm going to give, the AEW loyal viewers something on YouTube. YouTube has basically been AEW's right-hand man, the way USA and Fox has been the right-hand man for WWE. So Tony is just using his good truths that he has across the board. There was no way in the world that when we started this podcast and AEW became a thing that I thought AEW would be a credible threat this quickly. The fact that WWE has coughed up a lot of the talent and AEW's brought them in, plus the fact they've gotten their own homegrown talent, and I like the way they do their storylines. They have gotten a lot of momentum, especially on these last 6 months from like August pretty much to the end of the year. Somebody else is coming over to AEW by the end of the year.
Bray.
Safe guess. I'll just say this. This is what I wanted to see from WWE, at least some sort of response. Now, how they respond, I don't necessarily like, but they're not just letting AEW come in and do what they want to do. They have counter-programmed. They've given us good Raws up until the last couple of weeks. I'm curious to see what Crown Jewel looks like, but WWE is pushing back, and that's all we want, because that just makes everybody, as at least for wrestling fans that aren't hardcore AEW or WWE marks, if you're like us, this is the best scenario that you could possibly ask for.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll add on top of this, when I talk to non-wrestling fans and they're like, you watch wrestling? Like, why do you watch wrestling? And my answer is always the same thing. My answer is always, it's the weirdest thing in American culture. And it's not even close. Like, it is so fucking strange that this thing just will not die, and people travel to go see these guys fake fight, and it's this whole culture, and booking is this whole thing, and building guys up is this whole thing. And then, really, when you get to stuff like this, there is nothing like this on television where it's two companies just trying to lay their dick out on the fucking table and just be like, contest. It really is. And you can watch it happen in real time. I don't even know what the alternative would be. Like if they put The Voice against Everybody's Got Talent or American Idol.
It'd be like if like when we were kids, like ER versus Chicago Hope, but like all of a sudden George Clooney's just on ER, or he's just on Chicago Hope,
right?
And they're like constantly referencing the other show.
What the fuck is this?
Right, and they were making up and
George Clooney's flip sides.
Yeah, they were and like right before the show went on, they were like, you know what, we're gonna have George Clooney just kill the patient while the patient's on the table, like,
exactly.
like there's just
constantly escalates.
Right. There's just nothing like it, and there was something that happened in
this is totally unprecedented.
There's something that happened later in the Ibushi Great Okan match that I want to talk about that really made me mark out, where I was like, God damn, I love professional wrestling so much. But yeah, so let's go to the Full Gear. Let's go to the Full Gear card.
Yeah, transitioning to that. So the Full Gear card was leaked by someone taking a picture of Tony Khan at the Jacksonville Jags game, and he had like his notebook, and there's a picture of a card, and it says like, Full Gear. What does it actually say? It says pay-per-view Full Gear November 13th, and it's like in his like chicken scratch writing, and it's got like open on there and stuff. But anyway, so he announced officially, like, we know that Omega versus Hangman is the title match. I mean, there was a Full Gear logo on the poker chip, so I mean, it should not be a surprise, but people were freaking out about that. So
I didn't see, honestly, I'll say it. I didn't see the Full Gear, the logo on the poker chip. The poker chip itself it just throws me off. So, but I get it. Double or nothing, all in. It's the gambling motif. I get it. It's just a poker chip is just such a weird symbol because I've been programmed by WWE to look for briefcases and shit like that. This is just like, what the fuck? But I'm like most. I assumed it would be Hangman Omega, but I never saw the actual logo on the chip.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a good chance that he takes it, but you never know. Like, really, if you are a wrestling promotion, your entire business is predicated on how much money you can make for your company, so that you continue that wrestling promotion. So, what are the more money matches, right? Is it Omega versus some of these guys, or is it Page versus some of these guys? And they're just gonna have to figure that out and see where it goes. And also, it depends on how Omega's feeling, physically. But not to get into a philosophical discussion about that, we can move on. We've got Moxley versus Bryan Danielson, which feels to me, since it's babyface, like it is the finals of the tournament. So that seems likely.
Of the
otherwise
the eliminator tournament or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that seems like finals. And we've got Inner Circle versus American Top Team, which makes sense. Building to that, all of this makes sense. MJF versus Darby Allin makes sense. We just talked about CM Punk and how his role that he's chosen is to wrestle up and comers. So we've got CM Punk versus Wardlow. We've got Thunder Rosa versus Jade Cargill.
That's for the TBS title, I'm assuming.
Probably. And, that seems like a title kind of made for Jade. Thunder Rosa's got her work cut out for her. Like, Jade's an absolute star. There's no question about it. But she is very green.
And if Jade has to lose to somebody, Thunder Rosa is not the worst person in the world to lose to as the first L.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you. And we got Adam Cole versus Christian Cage, which, I mean, sounds awesome. I mean, we've already got this built in. It makes sense. The kind of Jungle Express or Jurassic Express has been teaming up with Christian Cage and against the Click or the Super Click. So we've got a little built-in storyline. And also, in the same token, we have the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. So that sounds like a great match. And Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. And then it says Andrade, El Idolo, or Miro. So it could be any of those three. They're either going to go Cody Rhodes versus Black, Andrade, or Miro. And then Tag Team Champions Lucha Brothers versus FTR, which sounds like absolute fire. And then Women's Championship match of Britt Baker versus Question Mark.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people online.
Let's start there.
Tony,
who's Question Mark?
Division because of a question mark. So,
who do you think Question Mark is?
Britt Baker against Question Mark?
Yeah.
I'd say Ruby Soho.
Ruby Soho, yeah.
They're going to run it back.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should. I think there's still more story. There's still more chicken on that bone. And I don't even know who else would be. Like, they've already done Britt and Sheeta. They've already done Britt and Thunder Rosa. Not that I would love to see Britt and Thunder Rosa go again because their match was the best women's match that they've had on AEW thus far.
One of the best matches.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. But I think that Ruby Soho is probably the right move. I think Ruby Soho should be the one to take the belt off of her when it eventually comes off of her.
Tuber, you like the Ruby Soho pick?
I mean, that was my initial thought. That's what I said initially, and yeah, I mean, you got time. You got a couple weeks to keep somebody up if you want, but that's not necessarily what they do. I think the only other two logical picks are actually already in a match with each other if this card is to be believed. It'd be Thunder Rosa or Jade Cargill. So,
right. And Jade Cargill still pretty green.
Very.
I was inside killing the bug for my wife when you guys started this conversation, so I don't know if you went over this, but I don't see Jade Cargill. I wouldn't have her lose to Thunder Rosa. I would have her win for a year straight and then have her take the title sometime 6 months from now or something.
You think she's going to take that hose title, though?
I don't know. When was that match with Shaq? I just said 6 months, but maybe she's already been here for a year. I don't know. Time has been real fucked up.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't think she's been in AEW a year, but it's been more than 6 months. Let's just go in the middle and say 9.
She's just, I don't want to use the term specimen when talking about a black woman. She is an impressive looking person. Very impressive, especially standing next to any other of the women that are in that division.
When on Friday, when the her and the Sky Blue match happened, I just shook my head. I was like, this shouldn't take long at all.
She's just such a star, but I wouldn't have her lose until she shakes off that green that she has. You know what I mean? That would be my idea.
I don't think her losing
she's
the
not
Thunder
built for long matches right now.
No, but I don't think her losing the Thunder Rosa, A, is the worst thing in the world, and B, it's the difference between WWE and AEW for me. I have confidence that AEW can keep Jade Cargill on the path towards the top.
When's the last time we had in pro wrestling a good undefeated streak? Asuka?
Yes.
I think it's time for another one.
Super long one, but we have plenty of pretty long ones in AEW. I mean, Jon Moxley won the title undefeated, as he won the championship from Jericho when he was undefeated, and then he did not take a loss in his entire run. So I mean, that was a very long undefeated streak. And if you think about it, we're in November, and the Lucha Brothers, haven't lost a match in this year. There's a lot that kind of go unnoticed because they don't necessarily talk about them in storyline. But if you pay attention to how they do their booking, you can kind of tell whenever somebody is due for a title win because they ain't been beat in a while.
If you gave me the pencil, Jade Cargill wouldn't lose for the near future. I don't know if I'd have her challenge for the title, or if I did, maybe I'd have something wonky happen. But I would not have Jade Cargill lose for a long time. That's justified the pencil.
No. I'm not saying I disagree with you. The examples we brought up are all people that have been around the game for a while. Asuka, so on and so forth. I guess I like your idea in the sense that it gives Jade time to get the green off of the apple. Now, that said, I'm still stuck on if they're really going to do Jade versus Thunder Rosa at Full Gear, which should be here, by the way, but that's another story for another time. I don't think that Jade losing that match is a bad thing. I think in the long run, the macro, it could be a good thing.
We also need to talk about this, though. Is that Tony Khan working? Or is that Tony Khan just popping the internet? If he pops the internet with that, because I don't think that Tony Khan is savvy enough to know that he's going to be photographed with, and the handwriting on that motherfucking thing was perfect. It was like he was writing in fucking block letters. He was writing in Courier New on that shit. He knows that if he's holding a notepad with the fucking shit face out, he knows that he's going to be photographed and that, he's the ultimate mark. Yeah. He knows how to pop the internet.
Yeah. This was done purposely.
And if it's done purposely, I might say it every week. Predictable's not always bad. If he's doing it just to let us know what it's going to be, just to pop the internet, and then he's still going to go through with it, I love it even more. I really do.
I'll just say this. Even if and if there's a match or changes or two, card subject to change, so be it. this is one of those scenarios where Tony Khan is doing what we kind of want him to do to begin with, giving us matches or feuds that we're kind of always looking forward to. Page versus Omega has been a year in the making. And then, it kind of went left a little bit, but now we're back on track. That's what we're here for. All this other stuff is going to be good. There's going to be really good matches, but the one match we want to see, at least for me, is Page versus Omega. Now, the capper is, does Hangman Page take the title? My hope is yes. If it happens, then it's just more so to where Tony Khan feels like he's more in touch with his wrestling audience versus Vince being in touch with his.
Zach, what do you think about what Jason just said?
Yeah. The only caveat that I can think of, because this is what the story is building to, but with new arrivals like Cole, Punk, Danielson, I'm not saying they take the title. I'm saying that can you dangle that carrot in front of Hangman's horse for a little bit longer to get your money matches out of an Omega Danielson, an Omega Punk, and Omega Cole, for example, before Omega takes the title? Because once Page beats Omega for that title and Omega has already run through the gamut of those amazing, legendary wrestlers, it makes the title even that much more valuable and elevates Hangman Page even more if he has to chase for a little bit longer. So if he doesn't take the title of Full Gear, I'm not going to cry wolf, because I do have faith that this thing will pay off eventually. But that if motherfuckers,
at least sane motherfuckers like yourself, are thinking this way, the other side is on the edge. If this doesn't happen to
literally
Hangman Page,
on the edge.
Yeah, if this doesn't happen for Hangman Page, it would never happen. So, I mean, I get what you're saying, and yeah, if we could have done this 3 months ago and had these guys come in, I still don't think we get all three of those matches. We get one of the three. You get Cole versus
Danielson for sure.
Yeah, let's take Danielson. You would get Danielson versus Omega for the title for sure, but you wouldn't get all three.
But
and then get Hangman Page to win.
What? Tony Khan's got a lot of balls in the air, and it seems to be that he's juggling them pretty well
so far.
This is what I was thinking when I was watching Brian Cage versus Starks last Sunday afternoon at halftime during the Rams game or whatever. Or no, that was Thursday night. That was Steelers game that I bet on. Oh, yeah. Oh, I bet on Jason's two teams this weekend, and I won them both. Bet on FSU, the Knowles, and I bet on the Steelers, and I won them both. You're welcome, Jason.
Fuck you.
You're welcome for me bringing home them W's for you.
Whatever. You brought him those W's. I was getting ready to say, betting on my teams usually means disaster in the making.
But, I like that Starks and Cage still doesn't really feel old to me. It doesn't show up on every Dynamite. You think that feels old to you?
Just for the simple fact that when Starks won the title, via fuckery, usually you have that run-back match fairly soon. This was that rematch, and it felt like a while between when Starks won the title and now this rematch. The whole feud itself has kind of drug out. And that's not a knock against Tony Khan. I think that's more so them trying to protect Ricky Starks from the neck injury. Like I said, it's not a knock on the booking. I think this is more so behind the scenes.
That's a little bit of a sidebar. What I was saying was everybody's looking at the shiny object over here. It's Omega and Bryan Danielson, and over here you got CM Punk facing all these young guys, right? And CM Punk, whether or not you agree with the philosophy that CM Punk being in the ring with these guys actually gets them over more than they would have been, or if they actually have to win, whatever is happening, CM Punk is racking up wins. And sooner or later, CM Punk's going to be at 12-0 or something. And then CM Punk's going to be like, you know what? Actually, I'm the number one contender. Now put me against Kenny Omega or Adam Page or whoever the fuck it is, And I really like the way that they're doing it because, like I said, you have all this stuff going on over here, and here's CM Punk just kind of it's real. We're real happy to have CM Punk, and meanwhile he's just win, and then by the time he gets to a big program, we're going to be ready for him to be in a big program, and then it's going to be on, and I hope he's a heel.
Damn,
Zach, what do you think?
Well, if Paige has the title, he'll be a heel.
Yes.
I think Paige will have the title. I really think that Omega, and take it for what it's worth. I mean,
Paige Punk is something. 3 or 4 years ago when Paige was in the G1, I think it might have been the first G1 that us three watched together, and we were like, God damn, who is this kid? This kid fucking rules, man. If you would have said, oh, hey, in 4 years from now, there's going to be this brand new promotion that's going to have Bryan Danielson and Cody Rhodes and all these other guys.
What? How'd they get fired?
And this motherfucker's going to be fighting CM Punk for the belt. We would have gone out of our minds.
You sign up for stuff like that.
I mean, wrestling fans we just really have to. Sometimes we have to take comfort in the things that are the good things that are happening. I think that this podcast does it better than others.
No, dude, I think there's plenty. If you're not just so delved into one side or the other, if you're in the gray and you watch multiple promotions, there's plenty to delve into and get excited about. Just on this AEW conversation, he said, was it FTR versus Lucha Brothers? I'm all in for that. I mean, personally, I would like to see Santana Ortiz. I think I've been banging that drum for a long time. But I mean, if you're going to give me that match on Full Gear, I'm totally down for that too. I'd like personally see Sammy, defend the TNT title solo away from the Inner Circle, but Inner Circle versus America Top 10, it makes sense. So I mean, that's one of the things I really like about AEW is that even though I might be looking for this match, I can understand why you're giving me that match, and it all makes storyline sense.
Also, I just realized that Full Gear is named after Hangman Page. Like, that whole pay-per-view came about because of a joke from BTE, and it was all about Adam Page because they were talking about him being fat and giving him a bunch of shit, even though he had not gained any weight at all, and they wouldn't let him eat any food. They put cameras in his house, and they would shame him every time he ate, and they'd say he wasn't Full Gear ready. And so he would ask if he had to dress out in full gear for every show. Anyway, really funny, but if you watched it. But I think it would also be very apropos if he took the title on Full Gear.
Next, I was at my doctor the other day, and my doctor was like, you weigh more than you weighed ever since I've seen you, and I've been going to this doctor for about 5 years. And I said, Dr. Khan, I'm Full Gear. Hi, Sarah. My sister's here. Other matches. What do you think about Moxley Danielson? If it's going to happen,
if it's going to happen,
if it's not
quote
work,
unquote. Two Beard said made a really good point because this is probably going to be the AEW title elimination tournament finals match. Now that said, I know you said Two Beard that this should be babyface versus babyface, and one of these guys is probably going to be a babyface. I don't know if I'm buying that both guys are going to be a babyface at this point. Moxley is getting to that point where, he's getting a little, angsty, I guess, for lack of a better term, where, the U.S. title is kind of escaping out of his grasp. Tanahashi's running away from him. Now he's lost another chance at getting the AEW title back. At some point, I think Moxley turns heel. I'm not saying it happens before this match. If it happened during this match or after it, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I love the fact that this is going to be a finals match, and this is a way, once again, to justify Bryan Danielson to get a title match if he goes over, or Moxley for that fact as well. Both guys have some sort of quote-unquote claim for the title. Moxley got screwed Bryan Danielson took Kenny Omega 30 minutes. So you both kind of have some sort of claim to this. It'll be nice to see them have the winner-take-all match. Winner gets the champion. I really think that I want to see Moxley go heel at this point. That would be a great way to kind of segue for him to go heel.
It's been a long time since he was a heel. Yeah. He was a heel when he turned on Seth the night that Roman Reigns announced that he had cancer, which was my turn of the year. I loved it when it happened.
Other way around. Oh, when Roman had said he had cancer.
And Moxley turned on Seth.
You're right.
In the main event.
Yeah, I hated it. I thought it was
the gas mask. Was that the gas mask gimmick?
It was later on, a couple weeks later.
Okay.
I mean, but yeah, that was the thing that Moxley talked about when he was on Jericho's podcast. He was like, Vince had no idea what to do after that.
Moxley's book is coming out. He has a book coming out here just a couple of weeks. They just got the copies. Renee tweeted that the advanced copy came to her house. So.
Mark, excuse me.
I can't wait for people to tell me what it says in that book without me having to read it.
I'll say, I think Tubi will have it done in the next couple of weeks.
I think it'd be really interesting because from all accounts, like Meltzer read it, Renee's read it, obviously, and there's another guy, Garrett Gonzalez, who does the Friday show with Dave, who does an MMA podcast, who Moxley's sometimes on because Moxley's an MMA fan, so they've kind of become friends. And he read it, and every one of the people, like, separately has said, this book reads like John Moxley, like, he wrote it. Like, you know, it's not like a ghost-written, like, thing. And I just kind of am fascinated to just kind of read it in John Moxley's voice because he's just so matter-of-fact and weird about everything. I think it's going to be a fascinating read.
Also, I don't want to relitigate that heel turn, but that heel turn was not cheap heat at the time. Everybody was actually stunned. That was an amazing heel turn.
Oh, when Dean Ambrose turned on Seth or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I didn't have a problem with it then. I mean, it was out of right field. It wasn't as good as the original heel turn, but it still caught me by surprise. That's all I ever asked from a Swerve is that if you catch me when I can't say a word, and we're going to talk about this later on here in a little bit on the 3 count, when a finish happens or a spot happens and I can't speak, that's all I need to know at that point.
What I was going to say, though, is when Zach was talking earlier about Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns and how it's kind of got a new shine on it because Brock's a babyface and Roman's a heel, I was thinking the same thing about this leaked Full Gear card with Danielson versus Moxley. It's like, I can't remember seeing Daniel Bryan fight Dean Ambrose in a one-on-one match in WWE. I'm sure they were in some 3-on-3 matches together or whatever.
Yeah. I can't think of
But what they never did was have a one-on-one match that they're going to be allowed to have in AEW. So I saw some people being like, well, what, it's just 2 WWE wrestlers fighting each other. It's like, no, it's 2 AEW wrestlers fighting each other. It's Moxley. I know Jason's so fed up with the WWE marks. It's palpable.
It's the dumbest fucking argument.
It's like my screen door is bending in because Jason's so upset thinking about these WWE marks. What do you think about that, Zach?
You saw that eye roll.
I did, yeah.
I just Googled, and it looks like Daniel Bryan versus Dean Ambrose. They did a little program in 2013. Looks like they wrestled on a SmackDown, and they wrestled on a Raw. So it could be fun to go back and relive on the old Peacock.
Don't remember that.
Oh, you mean those 2 classics?
Don't remember either. Okay.
6 minutes with a 4-minute commercial break in between.
Right, yeah.
Okay, more so to my point. I guess my whole problem with that argument, it's 2 WWE guys. That acts like WWE is the
That's
center.
not my argument.
No. Obviously. That acts like WWE is the center of the wrestling universe. okay? And all
Dude, those same
things.
people will say that AJ Styles is a WWE.
Dude, that blows my motherfucking mind. I mean, don't get me wrong.
He got there when he was 39 years old. That's as homegrown as it gets.
Don't get me wrong. It's one of my
Zach, you'll find out when you're 39. Life starts when you're 39, brother.
It was one of my favorite Royal Rumble moments. But I mean, damn, we act like this motherfucker wasn't in ROH. We act like this motherfucker wasn't in TNA. It was basically running TNA for the better part of a decade plus, and then went into Japan, and then came to WWE.
And this Japan stuff fucking rules, too.
And that shit drives me up the fucking wall. That's why I hate WWE hardcore marks that act like their shit is the center of all the shit. It really fucking isn't. Just because it's the biggest doesn't mean it's the best. That always works in porn. In this scenario, that doesn't apply.
Doesn't even work in porn, if you ask me.
No, because those guys can't. Those guys can't put it to them. They hurt them too bad.
Well, I'm just thinking about whatever. when I think about WWE fucking marks, I think about like adults with coloring books. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you'll go to Target and there'll be like a section for like adult coloring books.
No,
and
I go to Target quite often.
Jason, have you ever gone to a lady's house that you were thinking about sleeping with, and she might have like some VHS?
Hang on.
She might have some Disney VHS, like Little Mermaid, and like those big ass
VHS. That's
in
always
the
a turn
clamshell.
Yeah. in those big ass VHS boxes, like
that's
with like
always
the
a turn on
with the puffy sides.
Yeah, it's about
like that's what I think about when I think about WWE marks. It's like motherfuckers that are still watching Tarzan because they like the Phil Collins song. Fucking idiots. God, just fucking dorks.
No,
I don't care if you like WWE.
It's idiots on both sides.
No. No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
No, there's not.
Yes,
Don't both sides this.
Yes, there is.
No, there's not.
Idiots on both sides.
Nope.
Trust me. I have over 9,000 followers on Twitter. I see a lot of crazy shit on both sides. There is
humble brag. Humble
brag, motherfucker. You know how I roll. Ain't no humble about me when I'm bragging.
I got 126 and two of them never leave me alone.
Okay, Zach, stop tagging Bill on Twitter, okay? He's asking you politely to leave him alone.
There's way more Vincels out there than there are Tony Khan.
No question.
Vincels.
No question.
God, I can't believe I didn't think about saying Vincels until right now.
No question about
Vincels is the best slang term of the year.
The Vincels,
put it in the Oxford.
The Vincels are like the John Grudens of the world. They're mad because now the world is changing and they've been benefiting for the last 2+ decades, and now the world is changing. So now all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's get off my lawn time. Look, motherfuckers, AEW is a good fucking thing at the end of the day. And if that means that Vince and company have to step their game up and put up a better fucking quality product, that's good for the Vincels, and it's good for the rest of the wrestling fans. I don't see what the problem is.
Their hand is in like the same shape whenever they shake their fist at the clouds as it is whenever they're like eating their mashed potatoes. They got their whole fist wrapped around the fucking fork, just shoveling the fucking shit in.
Dude, that drives me up the wall, dude.
He's heating up.
I was about to say, that's one of my fucking pet peeves about when people eat. When you hold the fork like a fist and you're cutting, like you're cutting this. Dude, I see it all the fucking time and it drives me up the wall. I mean, like literally, I'm right-handed, so I'll have the knife like this, and then literally, like they'll have the fork in fist mode and they're cutting the steak. I'm watching this shit, I'm just like, ugh.
This is an audio medium. Please hold the microphone to your mouth.
It is the weirdest and the wonkiest thing, and it literally drives me up the wall. It's like nails on chalkboard. It's that bad.
You know the funniest thing about the fuck John Gruden thing, though, is that, like, I've been saying fuck John Gruden for 15 years.
You have.
Like, fuck that motherfucker. Like, why are we always...
You're ahead of the curve.
Anyway, let's get to that 3 count.
1, 2, 3.
All right, we're going to do it like we did last week because I thought that was better for the G1.
Sure. No, for sure.
We're going to talk about this. We're going to say spoilers right
Spoiler
now.
alert. Yes, if you have not
watched 15 and 16.
Well, there was a show this morning. If
That
you haven't
was
watched
16.
today, if you haven't watched 15, from this point on, you probably should just skip this segment?
Right.
Question
But
mark?
also, if you haven't turned the podcast off yet, like, you fucking deserve it.
That's right.
Too weird. I love you, baby.
That's right. So let's start off with the A block. So we'll start off with Tangaloa. Okay. So on night 11, Tangaloa lost to Ibushi. This was a match. Like I said, if you guys are still here now, you guys are ready for some dorky. Really, like we're about to get ready We're about to get ready in this matches.
Lather up.
This was the match when I finally realized that I think that Tangaloa is in over his head in the G1.
That's hilarious because I thought the exact opposite.
Totally. Thank you.
Outperformed Ibushi.
Thank you.
He really stepped up his game.
Thank you. This was the match where if motherfuckers was like, oh, why is fill in the blank in this tournament? This is why Tangaloa was in this tournament. This was his breakout match. He did a standing moonsault where I was just like, who the fuck is this?
He also had a really bad botch.
Look.
No, that was on Ibushi, man. Like, Ibushi screwed that up. That you're talking about that whole sequence where he did the Poison Rana.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Ibushi botch.
But if that's on Ibushi, that's on Tangaloa, not to sell it though.
Well, he didn't. He just kind of like fell back.
No, he did a whole back bump, like he took the move.
Okay, so then what would you want him to do? Not sell it or just
not sell it? Yeah, because it
I
didn't
think
work.
He did pretty okay based on the situation. That whole sequence was awesome. From the Germans to the Ranas,
I
agree.
It was
a really cool sequence.
I agree that the sequence was really good, but okay.
I didn't think anything bad about him. I was just like disappointed at Ibushi because Ibushi doesn't fuck up.
We see those kind of botches in New Japan all the time. All the time.
Hey, motherfucker, I've watched every single G1 match that there's been so far, and that's the first terrible botch that I've seen. I've seen guys fuck up stuff going to the top rope, but
you must have been not watching Sonata that much, huh?
Now we'll get to that.
Yeah,
but that's the first time that I've seen somebody sell something that didn't actually hit.
Okay, then damn. I mean, it's to me that's in that tough spot of what do you do in the split decision moment.
Okay. All right. So let's go to Tangaloa's next match. We obviously disagree on that one.
Full show.
Tangaloa's next match was against Shingo. Shingo went over. This was a good match.
Okay. More so to my point.
Shingo fucking rules, though.
But Shingo does rule. But, I mean, Tangaloa doesn't feel like he was outclassed or outmatched at any point. Shingo brought it to him what he brought to everybody else, and then at the end of the match, they're both laying on the fucking ground like, what the fuck just happened? That, to me, is the signal that Tangaloa might not be, neverweight champion or U.S. champion, but he doesn't feel like he has no reason to be in this tournament. Whether Shingo sells it or not, I'll let you to say that.
What do you think, Zach?
Oh, I mean, it was totally solid. Yeah, and I mean, Kevin Kelly did a great job of like selling it, saying like Tama Tonga is not here to be a spoiler; he is here to beat the world champion.
We're talking about Tangaloa.
Yeah, sorry, Tangaloa. Sorry, I said the wrong thing.
God damn, it's like Bill with the Jacksons.
I can tell them apart.
I can tell them apart now too.
Really?
Tangaloa is the one that they announced as Tangaloa before the matches. Tama Tonga is the other one.
They actually
Ain't nobody ready.
Dude, I love that fucking Steve music, man. That's a banger. I'll bob my head and shit. I'm just like, man, it's
I know. Every time I just turn it, like I just want to listen to DMX every time as soon as I hear that.
And then the final Tangaloa match was against Kenta. in a Bullet Club versus Bullet Club match.
These motherfuckers. Kenta ain't got no goddamn shame. But that's why I love him. No shame to it, Hey, before the match, no bullshit. We too sweet before the match. That shit didn't last 5 fucking minutes.
But then they too sweeted after the match.
So, I mean, at the end of the day.
They're all heels.
Yeah, they're all heels. And that's kind of what I want. I like heels being heels. And Kenta unapologetically, Evil included on the B-side, unapologetically have been those same guys throughout. God bless them for it.
What'd you think about it, Zach?
This is the one that I didn't see.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So then we'll go to Kenta. And Kenta fought in the dark match in the first night. The second night.
That Hiromu match was no joke.
The Hiromu match fucking ruled.
Yes. And Kevin Kelly said something, and it kind of not even resonated to me, but it was kind of like maybe something you put in the back of your head is that Hiromu might be following the Kenta blueprint to the G1, starting off as a light heavyweight or junior heavyweight, whatever you want to call them, and Noah, and in this case, New Japan, and ultimately getting into the G1 and having G1 matches. Hiromu is very high on the New Japan radar. I think we can all agree upon that. I'm not sure if we're going to get to that point where Hiromu is in a G1, but if it happens, these matches where we see him in 11 and 13, these are the matches that at least plant those seeds.
Quick sidebar. Do you want Hiromu to move up to a heavyweight?
No.
Totally, because we get.
Of course.
I think you get more classic matches.
Then somehow you're going to have to build up the junior heavyweight division because now you've taken.
It's just an
taken the big
for them though.
I'm not disagreeing. Look, the question
was,
do I want that?
She did it.
Okay, do I want that? No, I want an ace of the division and the other guys kind of chasing the ace of the division around. Right now, that's Hiromu. If you can bring a couple of guys in and then elevate, maybe say Robbie Eagles, I'm all for it. Right now, no.
Well, I think if you don't, you end up with a Kushida situation where Kushida doesn't, he hits his ceiling, and then you see Hiromu chasing a 24/7 championship on WWE.
Come on now,
I gotta admit,
don't do that.
I was disappointed to see Kenta beat Zack Sabre Jr. because that puts Zack Sabre Jr. back to the pack. I mean, that was his first loss, right?
Yes. But it was classic Kenta, into the exposed turnbuckle. You pull the tights, you get the win. It wasn't anything that was out of the blueprint. I guess if you want to kind of, foreshadow it at that point, somebody said it to me on Twitter. I can't think who it was, so I can't give him credit, but it can't, and it might have been here, on the pod. I don't think they're going to do Gaijin versus Gaijin as a G1 final. Okay. So this might be a way to bring ZSJ back to the pack. It took Kenta to do it. It took fuckery to do it. I didn't think that ZSJ was going to run the table, so I'm not necessarily disappointed in it, but this loss definitely took a bite on my prediction from last week, and we'll talk about that a little bit moving forward.
The other one from night 15 was ZSJ, went over Tanahashi? Or
no, 15 was Yano. Kento beats Tonga Goa.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about Sabre Jr. versus Yano.
Oh, my God. I was kind of surprised.
I know. It's just Yano.
Wait a minute. So at this point, on night 15, Yano is still in the block. I mean, the loss here eliminates Yano from G1
I don't want
contention.
Yano to win.
Lord have mercy. I mean,
I just think his matches are funny.
Jesus Christ.
We'll go back to night 11, which was Yano versus Shingo.
It was a lot of fun.
I thought this was a lot of fun, too. I thought Kevin Kelly's call of it made it even more fun, where Kevin Kelly's like, Shingo, what are you doing? Where Shingo put the hood on voluntarily. What do you think of it, Zach?
Oh, it was just so fun. And you also got to see kind of Yano turn it on for a couple minutes, you know,
for a hot second.
Yeah, the funny thing about Yano is, you know, we give Orange Cassidy props like all the time because, you know, he's very dynamic when he does break out. But Yano also can break out and do some stuff. He just doesn't, which is genius. I mean,
this is the second incarnation of Yano, and I guess that's, you know, bad on us because we didn't watch the first incarnation, but the second one is the one I'm not a fan of. The first one I'm kind of curious because Kevin Kelly references it a lot, and it's more of a aggressive, dare I say, terrorizing Yano to where Hiromu is to this day scared of Yano, and to me to even think about that shit blows my fucking mind.
Yano is playing his part on the card. Like, if Yano...
He gives guys a night off, and he gives a break for the audience to not be inundated with amazing wrestling.
Yeah. That poor ring announcer, Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a popcorn match. Ultimately, the ring announcer is all about evil matches, though.
No, he is not.
Yano also fought Takahashi Yujiro night 13. He went over... I got to be honest. I watched this match. I don't remember it.
I was going to say, there's not really too much to remember. This is, like you said, popcorn match, no big deal.
All right. And then we had Yujiro versus Ishii in night 15. Ishii goes over. I mean, this match... I mean, we're in the doldrums of the G1. Like, it gets to a point at the end...
Where now
there's only a few matches. Yeah, there's only a few matches that matter. You know,
agreed. And this isn't one of them. Well, it shouldn't say that. It matters in the sense for Ishii because now Ishii has now gotten on this little bit of a roll where he's beaten Yujiro on night 15. He beat Hiromu in the carryover match for Naito being out for night 13. So, I mean, he got those points anyway. But once again, another good-ass match. And then the main event on night 11 was him and Great O'Khan, which I thought was kind of a swing match for both guys, where Great O'Khan, I thought, if he won it, he can kind of get back into this.
Thank you.
And then if Ishii won it, it keeps this roll going.
Let's get into the Great O'Khan conversation because on nights 11, 13, and 15, Great O'Khan main events every night. So, if you were a betting man and you were betting on New Japan Pro Wrestling and you were thinking that the company wasn't all in on Great O'Khan, now might be the time where you start thinking, you know what? Actually, they think a lot of this guy. Zach, what did you think about Ishii versus Great O'Khan on night 11?
It was a good example of the fact that Ishii, I mean, he's going to bring the best out of a lot of people, but O'Khan's a really solid wrestler. His gimmick is very mediocre, but
it's okay.
I don't like the whole. I kind of appreciate the history of the Mongolian, you know, the evil Mongolian or whatever. Seems a little dated. In 2021,
Great O'Khan,
when he's doing the Mongolian chops, yeah, and when he's doing the Mongolian chops, and like when he did the claw to Ibushi's knee before the Kamigoye, I was just like, my eyes rolled the back of my head.
Oh, really? Because that was the moment I was talking about where I was like, man, I fucking love pro wrestling.
I went like, after the knee, man. Come on. There was a couple of times
because Kevin Kelly goes, we've seen him smash apples with that knee.
Or smash apples with his hand or whatever.
With his hand, yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, there was like, you know, and I'm going to jump ahead for like 2 seconds, but like Tai Chi, you know, has come in these last 2 or 3 matches with tapes wrapped tape around his ribs. And there was guys that didn't take advantage of that. I'm like, come on, man, this is a fucking... you know, literally a target around your opponent's back, and there's certain guys that didn't take advantage of it. Great O'Khan took advantage of the knee injury, quote unquote, to Kota Ibushi that happened during the match. Granted, he didn't win the match, but I will agree that there's something to be said about him main eventing 3 straight
I'm
matches.
not mega high on Great-O-Khan, but I will say that, he fought a mat match with Zack Sabre Jr., like a pretty good one. He fought a big boy match with Ishii where they were, bumping bellies and shit like that. When it was him versus Ibushi, they were being really mean to each other and just smacking each other across the face and fucking smoking each other.
Okay, you gonna stop kicking Ibushi.
And then I know that Zach hasn't seen this match, but the Shingo match that I watched in the Meineke car care lobby this morning at 8 a.m.
God bless you.
I was marking out.
Yeah.
In front of Ron, who was like, "Hey, can we come talk about your breaks?" I was like, "Hold on a second.
It's a big spot.
This is Shingo versus Great-O-Khan. All right, I'll be right there. There's only 10 minutes left." I was a fan of all of these matches. He's not setting the world on fire.
I'm not asking to.
No, but he's really turned a corner for me, and I think for all of us in this G1, because I think that's kind of been thematic in our discussions over the past couple of weeks. Of we were either very ho hum or almost like outright anti Great-O-Khan, where I was anti, and it's gotten to the point where I can appreciate watching his matches now. Now that I've seen him in such a high frequency and such a high quality of match.
I would have loved to see Naito because he has so many connections, especially on the G1 side. If he could have been healthy, Great-O-Khan would have been a great match to have to see what had happened there. Kenta would have been a great match. Shingo, obviously, for LIJ ties. Ibushi, just because, you never know what's going to happen there. Don't get me wrong. What's happened to this point, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just as excited. I can't wait for next week. So when we can figure out who actually wins this bad boy. But Naito being out is a little bit of a loss, but other guys do gain a little bit of advantage or gain some traction. Great-O-Khan, I think, is one of those guys.
Let me check Naito's points here. Hold on, I can't.
Dude, I'm sitting right here, man. I'm sitting right here.
Let me see what it is.
I'm sitting right here, dog.
Can't find it.
I'm sitting right here, dog.
Oh, it's 0. Okay.
I'm sitting right here.
All right, so we'll go to night 12.
I should burn your ass right now.
Start off with Tama Tonga versus Yoshihashi. Anything to say about this match, guys?
Very surprised Yoshihashi went over. I thought I had Tama Tonga win this coming into it. But, it's plucky Yoshihashi. What can we say? I mean, we said it coming into it. The match before that was him versus Goto. And they went at it like, they don't even like each other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Tama Tonga loses this match. But we'll talk about Tonga here in a little bit at the end of the
All right, so we'll keep going with Yoshihashi. Yoshihashi loses to Sonata in what I thought was a really good match.
Come on, man. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, you over here talking about botches, and this was a classic case where Sonata, God bless him, I think we all agree that, he's athletically gifted, but this was a match where there was their fair share of botches. Right or wrong?
I don't remember.
You're right.
I don't remember.
Look.
I've watched a lot of Japanese wrestling.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying.
Fucking,
a shit ton.
Literally.
I'm just saying that it's
15 plus 24.
We
matches.
can't just sit up here and throw Tonga Loa underneath the bus for somebody that's not a singles guy and not throw Yoshihashi, Sonata, either or both. These guys have had way more singles matches.
Yoshihashi has there hasn't been a better match that Tangaloa has had in this tournament that was better than Yoshihashi Goto.
Him and Ibushi ruled.
Okay, well, you're a mark.
Sorry, that was his breakout match.
That's
Sorry
fine.
You disagree.
And then we had, what do you think, Zach?
No, yeah, you're right. What's the one that Yoshihashi lost? There was one that I was really kind of, was it him? No, maybe it was Taichi, actually. I was really disappointed in a Taichi loss. Was it against Yoshihashi? I think that was what it was.
Maybe.
Are they in different blocks?
Let me flip.
No, they were in the same block, but I was going to say, I thought they already wrestled beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yoshihashi went over Taichi.
Yeah, I was kind of we already talked about that.
And then we had the last one was Yoshihashi versus Tanahashi, and
come on now, you know what's up.
it was good.
It was good. But
Yeah.
you know what's up. That's what I say. Look, Yoshihashi got his dub. Everybody, and I think that's what the good part about it is. Everybody's got their one big dub coming out of this.
So then let's go back to Tanahashi Cobb.
Interesting.
Now we're getting into it
Yeah.
because Tanahashi Cobb was great.
Yeah, just in the sense
4
that
stars.
just in the sense that can Jeff Cobb be that guy? And there's going to be in these next 3 matches coming up. This was one of the first matches where you had for Jeff Cobb the run of a gamut of matches. Tanahashi for night 14, Evil for night 16, and then Okada that hasn't happened for night 18. This was one of those matches where I was kind of worried about Jeff Cobb. Could he slip on the banana in the tailpipe? He did what he needed to do. Tanahashi, I thought, once again, is the ace of New Japan, but he's not that ace anymore, but he still brought a fucking good match to it. It made me stay on the edge of my seat to the point where I was wondering whether or not Jeff Cobb was going to lose this match. Obviously, he won, stays undefeated.
What you think about it, Zach?
Yeah, I was looking forward to it. It was going to be kind of the cusp. I expected him to go over, though, because even though he had a tough run in the last 3 matches with Evil and Okada and Tanahashi, I did expect him to go over Tanahashi because that's kind of the story. And Tanahashi can absorb that loss. He's the ace.
For sure.
He's the living legend, you know. Sorry, Larry Zbyszko, but Tanahashi's probably the greatest active living wrestler, in my opinion, right now. So it's cool for Cobb to go over him and bullshit for Evil to go over Cobb.
So we'll let's step back first. Let's step back to Cobb versus Sonata, which we haven't talked about. Cobb went over. This was also a really good match.
Speed versus size. Once again, this is one of those
Sonata bounced around, bumped for Cobb like
nobody's business. But he went after Cobb's knees like I wanted him to.
And you know what? This is something that I wanted to say about Tangaloa that I didn't also. It's like those guys bump around for Tangaloa too. Obviously, they respect Tangaloa. They respect his work ethic. I wish that Tangaloa and Tama Tonga would put as much thought into their tag matches as they do into their G1 matches.
Okay, that's fair. I don't have a problem with that. That is totally fair. But I think this is new.
I just like.
Go ahead.
I would say I like the references that Kevin Kelly's. He's like, you can see his dad, you know, in him, you know, like, because Haku was like one of the baddest dudes, like shoot dudes, you know, in the back. Like nobody fucked with Haku, like at all, like ever.
No, that's a good point. I just, like I said, for me, and I've been on the Tama Tonga bandwagon for a long time, now Tangaloa just for a little bit. I honestly think that both guys have done very well. Tangaloa is not going to get the props that he didn't have that real big G1 win, even though he did get on the board. I'll just wait for Tangaloa here in a little bit.
Let's jump ahead here to Cobb Evil, which happened last night. Zach
early this morning.
Zach hasn't seen it. I watched it today in the Mind Key.
God bless Kevin Kelly. He had me hyped for this match to the point where I was just like, okay, if Jeff Cobb loses, I'm gonna be more mad that Jeff Cobb loses.
I tried
versus my predictions going left.
If I wouldn't have been in the Mind Key lobby, I would have taped Jeff Cobb carrying Evil around from corner to corner to corner to corner. And as Dick Togo was talking shit to the referee, when he turned around with Evil and said, fuck you, Togo. Boom. And Togo moved out of the way. He hit the referee. God damn, that was funny. Cobb goes over Evil.
Thank
He is
God.
still undefeated. Very impressive match. He basically...
Oh, so he went over him?
Yes.
I kind of expected Evil to... Whenever I saw Cobb beat Tanahashi, I was like, he's gonna lose.
Cobb is undefeated. Goes over Evil. I actually
very surprised.
I popped alone in the Meineke lobby. I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
I'm like, "God damn right, fucking A."
The guy's like, "Why are you cheering? You owe me $400 for your breaks." I was like, Cobb went over Evil.
There's a silver lining in this $400 episode.
I kind of couldn't believe it.
I thought that the scenario that we talked about last week, I think Two Beer brought it up, where Evil beats Jeff Cobb, and now you have basically a three-way tie going into the last night. I thought that's what we're going into, and everything into this match where Dick Togo and Evil, I mean, they emptied the fuckery bag out, and thank God Jeff Cobb won. So now we have at least...
He couldn't be stopped.
We have at least one guy for the G1 B block that runs undefeated.
All right, so we'll talk about the other match that happened last night, which was Okada loses to Tama Tonga.
Totally stunned.
It was a
clean victory, and that's what the totally stunned part about it is.
And a very good match.
And it was a very good match. It puts Tama Tonga over. I've been waiting for Tama Tonga to be that singles guy ever since they jumped Kenny Omega and the Bucks back in the day, like 2-3 years ago. It feels like 5 years ago at this point, but that's when I thought, because I got the shirt from it, I thought that's what's going to be the next faction of the Bullet Club, and it never really happened. Maybe this is going to be a jump-off point for Tama Tonga moving forward.
No, it's not.
I said maybe twice.
Well, it's not. Well, this is the last of 3 very good Okada matches. Okada Taichi fucking ruled. Taichi got screwed in this G1. I think having 4 points is what he ended up with, and that is not what Taichi. That's not what should have happened to Taichi.
I'll say this: the ribs for Taichi definitely come in to play for 14 and 16. 12 is where Kevin Kelly thinks that Taichi hurt the ribs against Okada, and then 14 versus Tama Tonga, and then 16 versus Chase Owens, which he loses that. That's the one where I was like, okay, maybe this is where they're playing the ribs of and protecting Taichi, but I agree with you on this. I expected a lot more for Taichi coming into this bad boy.
Zach, what did you think about Okada Owens?
He didn't see it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I don't.
It was on 14.
I did see that one, but I was not super
sober,
or super present for it. Like some of these I kind of multitask in, and that was one.
I was about to say, hey man, man, put those drugs in the fucking mail and send that shit to me, man. I'll give you my address on fucking Twitter.
Well, there's that, sometimes I'm doing laundry and stuff, but that is surprising. I didn't realize that was the outcome. We had the Okada loss. I would have thought it was completely the other way around. So that's super interesting.
So, I mean, let's talk about this. So, if we're looking at the A block, which is the B block's pretty. It's just Okada versus Cobb. Whoever wins the block. When you're talking about the A block, we have 4 guys with 12 points. It's Kota Ibushi, Zack Sabre Jr., Kenta, and Shingo Takagi. And then in the B block, it's whoever wins out of Okada versus Cobb. So in the A block, what we have is... Hold on, give me a second. What we have is Shingo versus Takahashi, Ishii versus Yano, so that doesn't count.
No, Ishii has 10 points. If he wins...
No, he's out of it. He's out of it.
Is he officially out?
Yep.
Okay. And he's out on tie breaks.
Ishii's out of it.
Okay, so you got the 4 guys at 12.
Right. So you have Shingo versus Takahashi.
Shingo.
Sabre Jr. versus Tangaloa, and then
ZSJ.
Ibushi versus Kenta. Who do you think wins?
And Zach has the tiebreaker on Ibushi and Shingo.
Right.
Then I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going down with this Titanic. I'm taking ZSJ. I'm taking Jeff Cobb in the final big ass fucking upset. Two Gaijins in the G1 final. ZSJ versus Jeff Cobb.
Who are you taking, Zach?
I'm transitioning. I feel like what's the? Yeah, I'm thinking that
they all have 12. All four have 12 points.
But ZSJ has a couple.
Well, just because Naito is such a layup, you know,
dude,
they just
fuck
keep taking
you, man. God damn,
Naito.
Motherfucker.
And who's Ibushi facing?
Ibushi versus Kenta, which it's the only match that has two guys with 12 points.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. I think Shingo wins his match. I think Zach loses because I think Ibushi wins against Kenta, and
so that
it
gives
comes
him
down
3
to the tiebreaker.
So that gives him the A block, and he'll be the first guy to go. Well, I wouldn't say the first, but one of the few that wins a block 3 straight times.
He's going to be three. He's the first to win 3 in a row, I think. And I think he goes, So I think Shingo will win and have 14, but because of the tiebreaker, he'll not be in it. So I had Shingo all the way up until this point, but I'm transitioning now to Ibushi, and I think it'll be Ibushi Cobb. And at that point, ask me next week because I can't decide right now.
Okay, here's my question, because I heard you guys talking about the B block, and then we can get to the odds and ends in a little bit. Obviously, Jeff Cobb is now at this point. He's run the table. He's 8-0. You know, Okada is 7-1, but now we're at the point where the final match is winner take all. You know, all chips in the middle. Are we really sure that Okada beats Jeff Cobb in an all-in scenario? I'm not sure. I really think that, honestly, for me, Okada, as much as I want and need Jeff Cobb to win it, I think Okada wins in this straight-up one-on-one scenario where the winner takes the B block. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the ultimate goal is the Tokyo Dome, and you already have Zack Sabre Jr. and Ibushi who have beat Shingo. So you have 2 title matches set up before January 4th. So you have 2 big shows. Your main events are already settled. So I do think it kind of you could lean on the B block and then have Cobb, but you also have multiple nights at Wrestle Kingdom.
3.
So I don't think that it's unheard of to have Ibushi win this briefcase again, because you could still have Cobb in that running because he went all the way, and even though he didn't have the opportunity to beat the champion, he could still, you know, you can keep him hot and
challenge
have
for
him
the briefcase.
Exactly.
They're both in different blocks, so I mean, you could have a legitimate argument for that. No, I can totally see that. I can totally see that.
I can't see. Well, I can, but it seems pretty hard because nobody's ever ran the table.
No.
So if Cobb were to win,
Jeff Cobb. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Kevin Kelly mentioned like 3 or 4 guys, but it hasn't been at this. You know, the guys that have done it. That I think it's 2 guys that did it when there was like 5 matches. I think Shinsuke did it when it was like 7. So nobody has done it when it's in this current modern day quote unquote G1 where there's 9 guys.
So people have done it.
People have run the table, but it's just been shorter.
Not the modern
day.
Right,
exactly.
I mean, my whole thing is, I knew they wouldn't have Okada Cobb. I knew that once Cobb beat Evil today when I was watching it, I knew that they were going to have Okada lose. I don't know how I knew it. I was thinking Tangaloa was going to win, and that was going to be Tama Tonga, and that was going to be it.
Well, I know these guys apart
because I knew they wouldn't have two undefeated guys going against each other, and I also knew. What are you making that face for?
Why not? Why not? Either way.
I don't know, because I knew it. It turns out I was right, though.
But either way, it doesn't matter. The winner wins the block. So, I mean, if you wanted to do...
That's exactly what I was going to say. The winner wins the block. Like, even if Cobb goes in undefeated, but Okada beats Cobb on the last night, it doesn't matter.
He's got the tiebreaker. He got the same amount of points.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
You still have Cobb being super strong.
Right.
Even if he loses.
That's why I'm really thinking that Okada's going to win this match.
Last time we saw Cobb fight Okada, Cobb won.
Right. So there's the rub.
This is very interesting to me. I know, man. It's very interesting to me.
Isn't it so fun too to think about how, like, we talk about this like it's real sports. You know what I mean? Where we're talking about records and we're talking about past histories and we're going years back. This is the kind of thing that Tony Khan, I think, is building, and it's just something that we kind of thrive on, and the reason why we're so
it's something that we've talked about for 4 years on this podcast, that it's best when it's presented as an athletic competition.
Sport. And this is as good as it gets.
This is as good as it gets, and this is why I want the King of the Ring to be a real tournament. Like, I think they should do a G1 in every single promotion, man.
Dude, are you out your mind?
It fucking rules, though.
You see, okay, look at Tai Chi.
Every match means something, though.
Down the stretch.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's no way in the world.
Are you disagreeing with me? I'm just saying every match means something.
I'm disagreeing with you.
And this is why the G1 fucking rules. I have watched every single G1 match. Every single G1 match. I tell my wife, I'm like, I'm sorry, this will be done in 6 weeks. I promise. I'm just going to
one more week, Aaron, and we almost done. You'll be in Arizona by this time.
But it fucking rules, though.
Usually he says, hey, I promise this will be done in 3 minutes, but this time it's 6 weeks.
How dare you? How dare you?
You ain't shit.
How dare you talk to me like that? How can he talk to me like that?
You brought him in on this podcast. Don't look at me. It was supposed to be me, you, and Tinder, and all of a sudden this Zach guy comes in, and all of a sudden 4 years later he's throwing you underneath the bus.
I didn't want him. I was scraping the bottom of the barrel.
No, you.
That's a true story.
Shut up. That's bullshit.
But what I'm saying is, wait, what was I saying?
So you're saying G1. I think that maybe not a G1 because the G1 is very sadistic, right? It's almost like I almost feel terrible taking so much pleasure in these guys' pain. Maybe like a New Japan Cup. You know what I mean? Like 32 combatants. All not a round robin.
You know WWE would fuck that up too. They would fuck that up because they don't. Okay,
I wasn't even thinking of them. I was thinking of AEW and like Impact.
That's not the point. The point is that like
AEW does it right.
The point is that matches should mean something, and like guys should have pride in how many points they end up getting. Like when you end up watching, Goto. Or Chase Owens versus Taichi. Like, let those guys go out. Let those guys go out.
15 minutes. Let them roll the ball out.
Let them roll the ball out. And let them see what they do. And like sometimes those guys have great matches. Like that's the point. It's fucking wrestling. Like the characters are established. Let them go do their thing.
It was cool to see like Tama Tonga and Tangaloa not revert to fuckery, but then other guys stick to their same, characters. You know what I'm saying?
It's the truth.
That was cool. That was good to see.
I always say it's the real WrestleMania. Like it is really the real WrestleMania. Like if I'm forced to watch, not forced to watch, but if I decide to watch 30 matches in 3 days. While I'm just sitting on the couch.
Just for a reason.
Like, giving my baby a bottle, That's...
Don't move, Anime, please.
Yeah. You're fine. You're fine.
Main event is coming up. Come on now.
You know what's crazy? sometimes like I'm watching these matches and I'm like, oh, surely that was the main event. And I get ready to turn it off, and then Kevin Kelly's like, up next, our main event. And I'm like, holy shit, that match was awesome. Like, how was that not the main event?
Okay, I'll say this, and we can close the segment out if we want to. A month ago, I was a little hesitant about what was going to happen with the G1, with the names announced, with COVID, the whole shebang. I wasn't sure if we were going to have a good G1. I cannot wait for the last 2 nights. It's going to be on.
No,
and I'm excited to see what happens, especially on the A block when you got 4 guys fight for the one spot.
And you can say this about the guys that weren't supposed to be there. They gave 110%, man.
For sure. I think Chase Owens beating Tanahashi and Chase Owens. That to me was crazy.
You know,
this morning to me was crazy.
There were spots in the G1. There were spots in the G1 that were supposed to be Will Ospreay and supposed to be Jay White and supposed to be maybe Suzuki. You know, he hasn't been in a couple of years,
Juice
but
Robinson
and Juice Robinson. You know, and they weren't there. So
for
there
sure,
were these other guys.
For sure, the 2 guys, Will Ospreay and Jay White.
I'll say this:
those 2 guys were supposed to be in.
I'll say this: I watched every match. Nobody half-assed it.
No, hell no.
I just imagine Yoshihashi went into his New Japan tryout and he like went to fill up a cup with water and like Shibata's watching him and he like overflows.
You want to be in the G1?
he overflows his cup and Shibata's like, you nervous or something? And Yoshihashi's like, nah, I just always give 110%.
Okay.
And then he slams a cup of water.
Okay. Now you're in the G1. And it's just that simple. Man, I cannot wait for the last couple of nights.
Yeah, me neither. But I'm not going to be here on the podcast next week. Fuck. Jesus Christ. That's going to do it for
Are you
our
going
3.
to some fish show or something?
I'm going to 2 fish shows, brother. I know.
Jesus Christ. Pray
Rough
for this
world.
man.
Hey, I couldn't go when my baby was being born. I tried to.
What? Never mind. Your wife is so
I almost.
Do you
took
think I
those
actually
work
tried to?
tickets
You ever met Aaron?
He didn't even ask.
Aaron, you cool?
Nope.
You cool?
Once he said that?
Aaron, you cool? I'm flying out to Spokane.
I was waiting for you to follow up and shoot me those tickets. I never got them tickets.
All right, we got some odds and ends here. Not a whole lot. I got to be honest. I've watched a little bit of NXT.
It's
like OVW.
No,
it's like
okay. That's what I was going to say.
It's not.
For
It's
those
not.
who
It's not
watched it-
television.
No, for those who watched the original, then this is nothing more than the original. For those who like AEW Elevation, or AEW
No, I'm talking
Dark
about
Elevation.
NXT.
No, it's the same thing. It's really the same thing.
No.
It's a lot of developmental. There's 1 or 2 really good matches.
AEW's
I wouldn't
never
even
been
say that.
developmental.
That's being kind.
No, I'm talking about Dark and Dark Elevation. That's your developmental
Oh, no,
shows.
I don't watch it.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. This is now,
I'm 41.
this NXT is turning
Get
into
your wrestlers, have them have a fucking full character, and then get back to me. I'm not going to watch you guys develop yourselves on television.
Look,
That's
what's
how I feel.
happening. I'll just say this: Carmelo Hayes winning the NXT North American
It was
title.
cool. He cashed
It was
in.
cool. Yeah, it was cool. But everybody was like, it's so great. Sorry, high five time. It was so great, but no, it really wasn't that great. It was nothing more than what they already have done before in the past. And God forbid they give Santos Escobar a fucking title run that actually means something, for Christ's sake.
Look, I mean, if you look at my notepad where I write down everything for the show, like I write down
NXT is a lot of scratches. Who's this?
No, it's like
what's this?
It's like the first column is just everything New Japan. Second column is everything main event
Main
WWE.
roster.
Third column is NXT, and there is so many fucking.
They're just not doing a good job of introducing the new characters.
There's 25 people on every single show. It's not a wrestling show. It's a developmental show, and I'm not going to watch it.
I'm at the point where
I don't have enough time
I'm at the point where
in my life.
Halloween Havoc to me is going to be
I don't even know what you're talking about. What's Halloween Havoc? NXT?
where Braun Breaker beats Tommaso Ciampa. I'm gonna call that right now.
Fine.
But that to me is now where NXT 2.0 really starts to come into its own. You know what I'm saying? When you don't have...
How can you even pay attention to anything on that show? There's 25, 30 people on every single show. And they're all trying to get over. It's like Vince throwing chum to an alligator.
Who wants it more? I don't know.
Right. It's stupid.
No, it's not stupid. It's just, it's not the NXT that we have known for the last 2 years. That NXT is called AEW. And at that point, we're just going to have to start to decide whether or not we're going to talk about NXT on the week-to-week basis.
What do you think, Zach?
Or not.
I will watch this in the background when I'm doing stuff around the house or when I work from home on Mondays, and it's just on in the background because it's not something I have to pay attention to. If there's a breakout match that seems interesting, I can turn around and I can watch it. But this is not priority viewing. It is not something that I will feel obligated to watch, to report on to our loyal listeners. It's fine for what it is, what they're doing. I get why they're doing it. Everybody on the main roster is like 40 plus. Like, you need some 25-year-olds, and you need them now because AEW's got them, and they've got the young stars, and they are the pillars of the brand. Just like MJF said, like, that dude was not lying.
Nope.
You know, like,
no,
you know.
No, he was not. He called him out and check, and check. All four guys are better than what anything that WWE can have past Roman Reigns, Seth, blah, blah, blah. You name me four guys that are just as good as better than MJF, Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy. Who's the fourth guy?
Darby.
Thank you. WWE does not have anything coming up.
I mean,
even in NXT, I'll give you Braun Breaker. I'll give you Carmelo Hayes. You give me two more guys after that.
They're
That's
both
the challenge.
super green. Like, I mean, yeah, those can be your champions of your OVW. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, they're your minor
Of
league
your
champions.
OVW.
Not of my OVW, but our OVW.
A OVW.
OVW. But I would take
They're like
those four
the
guys.
fallopian tubes of wrestling.
Damn, nigga. You didn't have to go.
Shit ain't.
No, but
Shit ain't even fully.
it's just not shit that should be on TV. It's like shit that should be in front of 200 people. And they put all this shit on TV. It's like everybody watches NXT, and it's like some dude named Tony D'Angelo just working out his fucking soprano shit. It's like that shit should be backstage so nobody has to see it. It's like when I throw up. It's like nobody has to watch me throw up.
I don't want to see that shit. But Antonio...
Yeah, but I don't want to watch some dude work out promos like he's
good in the ring. So this is one of those scenarios.
Care.
I know. I get it. Trust me. I get it. This is, for me, the problem.
I can't watch.
I don't want to watch another 2 hours of development.
I'll tell you what. The new NXT wasn't even in my thought process this week, as I had all this Japan to watch, and then Rampage, and then Raw, and then SmackDown.
The only reason it was on my radar is because we weren't talking about AEW. If we weren't talking about AEW, NXT is probably odds and ends at this point.
They might as well be Raw and...
Oh, no, we ain't going there, are we? We putting NXT on the Raw side of things nowadays.
I don't watch it.
They're the afterthought.
I don't watch it, and I love Ciampa. I'm not watching it though.
You ain't gonna watch the Ciampa Braun Breaker title match?
I mean, sure. Like, send it to me, I guess. Like,
this motherfucker, he was like, if I gotta watch my daughter again, fucking yeah, I guess.
It's not even. But it's not even like an interesting belt anymore because NXT changed so much. It's like, what's the belt? It's like, oh, you hold the belt amongst a bunch of these Care Bears down here that are just trying to get over.
That Joe Gacy.
He's the best one.
Really?
Yeah, he's the best one.
Okay, so you're saying.
The rest of them are garbage.
Are you
just absolute garbage?
Are you saying this because the fact that he gets that much heat, or you really like the Joe Gacy character?
No, he's a huge conservative, and so am I. So
Okay.
I mean,
That makes sense.
I'm just a big conservative.
No, that makes
you
sense.
know?
No, it just that connection is what I was looking for after that, you know.
I don't think gay people should eat.
This is banned from ringside.
Odds and ends, Jason. Anything else that you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Sasha Banks? Do you want to talk about?
No, we'll play that shit out next week. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I know it's the Bill.
Well,
Vegas
there's
special,
just
but
nothing else to talk about.
not really.
though.
I think we.
Do you want to talk about Mace cutting a backstage promo?
Fuck no! Give me a
No,
break.
you don't want to talk about that.
No,
Do you
I
want
was
to talk
about
about Becky Lynch?
Not really. I mean,
Of course not. Do you want to talk about Bianca Belair?
disappointing. I mean, she'll be on
Because there's
the-
no stories,
no,
dude.
no. There's a
You were
story.
like, oh no, there's stories. There's stories. There's no
2
stories.
weeks ago, when Drew pointed the sword at Big E, you were crying about that's not a story, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, we have a match. So there are stories.
That's not
It's
a
just-
story.
It's just not the way we like to see
That's
it
not a story.
presented.
Hey, pointing your sword at a dude and
Is-
then having a match 2 weeks later
is
not.
it's a story as
No,
WWE's
what's the
gonna get.
story?
I want the title.
Oh, wait. So you're grading this on a WWE level?
At
That's
least
not what I'm
it's-
doing.
In certain scenarios, it should be. For WWE, you have to grade it on
Hit us up,
WWE scale.
hit us up at BFR Pod, at BFR Bill, at BFR JCB. Tell us.
At
who's right.
BFR Zach Tubeer, all lowercase letters with an H.
All right. That's pretty much all I want to talk about.
This is banned from ringside.
Hey, we got some birthdays tonight. Nikolai Volkov
R.I.P.
would have been 74. We got Stacy Keebler is 42. That means she's older than me, younger
I got
than
a
you.
chance. And I got a chance. That means I got a chance.
Tamatanga.
The aforementioned.
This has been a Tamatanga episode. We've talked about Tamatanga
way
yeah,
more than
a whole
we ever
lot.
have.
And also, he's 39 this
damn
week.
that dude.
We have Justin Credible is 48. Can't believe it. Kenny Omega. That's a big name.
PWI's #1 wrestler of the 2021.
How old do you think he is?
He has to be younger than me. I'm going to go with 38.
Damn, that's good. He's 38. Simon
Nice.
Gotch, my boy Vice, texted me this week about the Vaudevillians. He was like, these guys should have been champions forever and ever. And I was like,
But they
yes.
were NXT champions for a hot second.
Yeah, but I mean, that just means me and Vice Parker cars in the same garage because I think the Vaudevillians were fucking awesome.
I agree.
Tony Storm is 26.
That's it?
Yeah. Chavo is
Older than me, 53.
51. Scott Hall?
Older than me, 62.
63, not bad.
bad.
Jason Bell, like all those boomers can smell each other. Bushwhacker Butch would have been
R.I.P.
40, would have been 77. Hey everybody,
Sing that song, bitch.
we know that there are a ton of podcasts to listen to, so we
Sing that
appreciate you
song.
guys
Yes,
listening
sir.
to our podcast.
Please and thank you.
I'm Bill Vagey. That's Jason Cornelius Bell. That's
Check.
Zach Pullman. That's
Check.
Bo Vice Eastman. That's Tinder
Double check.
Mahal. That's Lucha
JOF.
Chris. That's Sideways in Time. That's
Check.
Daniel O.
What?
Lucha Chris's partner.
Oh, Patriot Pat.
Yeah, Patriot Pat.
Check.
Support.
Wife and
Support
kids.
local.
Wife and kids. Wife and kids.
Black Lives Matter.
Yep. Boo the heels.
Move the heels.
Woo!